Hi there, it's James here again. Rather than being a party pooper, it's 3:10 p.m. on 31st of October, so it's Halloween. So this is going to be quite a long flash briefing, and it's about 5 scary or strange things that influence my art, and it might do the same for you. So my art is kind of sci-fi, futuristic, but I do like elements of horror in films. Not fantasy, really, but weird things, and in art as well. You know, Goya, he made some quite strange paintings. The original Wicker Man film, very scary, because it's not got monsters and demons in, it's more psychological. A very scary film when I was a kid was Threads in the 80s, which was about a nuclear war, which was quite real then. It still is real, but our psyche has changed. So I'm going to list 5 themes and things that influence me in the scary zone. So number 1, kind of witches, dark arts, the old religions, pagans. I mean, in Britain, we kind of in denial because, forgive me for offending anyone, but Christianity comes from the Middle East, basically. The old religions of Britain were pagan, and there's not much information about what happened in these times. Who knows, things like human sacrifices. That's where things like the Wicker Man, the Romans talked about Wicker Men, although that might not be true, who knows. There's so many ancient stone circles and things around Britain, and they're quite eerie, and they can influence ideas. For example, there's a glacial rock near where I live with cup marks on sort of holes and circles in the rock. They're kind of worn off, but who knows what they were for. Part of me thinks it could be for draining blood. Okay. Number 2, landscapes. Old Northern European landscapes such as Scotland and Iceland. Deserts in America, isolated deserts. Cornfields in America and UK. I grew up in North Norfolk where we had lots of cornfields. It felt like the Wicker Man, and I've been to North America where I've seen big cornfields. Woods. Woods can make the hair on your neck stand up. My parents used to go on holiday in Ullapool in northern Scotland, and there was some woods up where we stayed, and the dog never used to want to go out the woods. It got scared. And before the dog got scared, I got scared, so that's strange. Number 3, nuclear war, collapse, economy, plagues. I was a Cold War kid in the 80s. We often worried about nuclear war, perhaps more than kids do these days. And, I lived near a military airplane base in North Norfolk, and the planes used to fly at night sometimes on a scramble. It was very scary, thinking about nuclear war. And again, there was a film called Threads that I shouldn't have watched when I was 9, and it's about a nuclear war in the 80s in Sheffield, which probably makes it even more depressing. Sorry anyone in Sheffield, but 1980s Sheffield doesn't particularly appeal to me. It's nice now I've passed through it. Okay, and plague windows. There was a plague window in the church where I grew up. It was a black angel. And of course, when I was born in 75, so getting to about 10 or 11, that's when the cases of AIDS started breaking out on the news. It was California and New York, and that was very scary because no one really knew what that was about, and all the kids at school were saying that everyone's going to die until people really knew what that was about. And then number 4, masks. Tribal, religious, occult, shaman masks are fascinating too. I went to an amazing exhibition, not expedition. I'm not an archaeologist or something. I went to an amazing exhibition in Madrid, in a bank, kind of art gallery in Madrid, and they had this amazing thing about masks, all these old masks. They're scary, but they're very fascinating. Masks, kind of shamans use masks in dances that kind of transport you to another level, like you transcend beyond human, almost becoming an animal or a god or something. So again, that's very sacrilegious in, Christian terms. Masks, generally, things like the Venice masks, they wear in masked balls. And of course, if anyone saw the Stanley Kubrick film Eyes Wide Shut, I think it was made in 1999, that was very scary as well. Masks, and it's all about kind of some of the things in it. It's about masked people, how people are masked, they're not what they seem to be. Which leads me to the next one, which is quite scary and also relevant in day-to-day life, especially in the complex time of the internet. Some people, what on the surface, they're not what they seem. So they could be manipulators, narcissists, and they could come across as perfectly charming and lovely on the outside. But then when, then things under the surface, and then the manipulation or the control starts. So that's very scary. It's scary for people in relationships, control people. For example, a very scary film is The Hitcher, or is it The Hitchhiker, with Rutger Hauer, and again, it's an 80s film, and it's about a serial murderer and how he gets annoyed at the people that give him a lift and what happens. So that's good to watch as well, so it's all interesting. There's always dangers and things that make you scared. Okay. And with the art that I do with that, things like that, I draw people in cities, from the 3zuni.com universe for my Draw Every Days. And the people often look quite attractive and intriguing and interesting, but perhaps something sinister lurks under the surface of their veneer. Who knows? That's the 5 things that kind of influence me. And what influences you? Let me know. Is it all in your mind, or is it, what's scarier, the result of something bad happening or the anticipation? Thanks very much. Contact me on Twitter, James Abel Art, and Instagram. Bye for now.